February is National Heart Month, and no offense to kale, but I think we might be missing something here. Loneliness has been linked to increased risk of heart disease and stroke, dementia, premature death. If we can't sit compassionately with ourselves, being in a room full of people is not going to fix the loneliness. Welcome to Late Bloomer Living, the podcast where we're all about shaking up our ideas about what it means to grow older. I'm Yvonne Marchese, your resident age agitator and play instigator. Around here, we believe midlife is the perfect time to play, to reinvent, and bloom like you mean it. Let's go. Back to kale. Everybody likes kale, right? And cardio? Yeah, woo! Here's the thing, when we talk about heart health, we focus on numbers, blood pressure, the steps per day. Oh my gosh, if I don't bring my phone with me on a walk, I'm like, oh, I'm not getting credit for this walk. You know, your LDL, your HDL. Oh my gosh. What we don't talk about often enough, in my opinion, is the relational side of heart health, the psychological side, the identity side, because midlife is full of role shifts. You've got shifts in parenting, wherever you're at in the process on that, career pivots, divorce, menopause, retirement, and frankly, losing people we love. Yeah, that starts to happen now, doesn't it? When roles shift, our identity shifts. And when identity shifts, our sense of belonging can get wobbly. I've been feeling this way in my own life lately. I recently lost a friend to cancer. She was a bright, shining light in this world, one of the best people I've ever known. And in the middle of that grief, something unexpected happened. I found myself in a couple of long conversations with old friends. And it was so great to just talk to those friends. And yeah, the conversations don't get rid of the grief necessarily, but they soften it a little bit. And also, with everything happening in the news right now, the heaviness, the uncertainty, talking to friends about it has helped me to process instead of spiral. It's a way for me to get off the doom scroll and actually talk to a human being. Connection regulates us, and science backs that up. In 2023, Dr. Vivek Murthy, he was the Surgeon General at that time, he issued an advisory calling loneliness and social isolation a public health crisis. He said that loneliness is more than just a bad feeling. It harms both individual and societal health. And some research even compares chronic loneliness to smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day. That's crazy. That's not poetic language. That's public health language. Loneliness has been linked to increased risk of heart disease and stroke, dementia, premature death. So connection isn't just emotional, it's biological. But before I go further, here, I just want to be clear. Loneliness is tricky. You can feel lonely even when you're with other people. You can be at a dinner table surrounded by family, on a Zoom call, at a party, in a marriage, in a career, in a community, and you can still feel unseen. And loneliness isn't just about physical isolation. Sometimes it's about disconnection from yourself. If we don't feel safe with ourselves, it's very hard to feel safe with others. And this is where self-care comes in. Self-care that is not selfish. I just want to repeat that. Self-care is not selfish. And I'm not talking about the Instagram version of self-care, not bubble baths or massages or, I don't know, getting your nails done. It's not always candles and spa days, you know? Sometimes self-care is turning off the news, putting down your phone. Yeah, going for a walk without your phone. Oh my gosh, but what about my steps? It can be saying no to something that drains you, doing something that makes absolutely no sense, but makes you happy, letting yourself rest without having to earn it. That's self-care. It's asking what would actually nourish me right now. And here's one that gets me. This is big. Notice how you're talking to yourself. Are you supportive or are you critical? If you're like me, you probably have a very efficient inner critic. I can criticize myself faster than anyone else ever could. But would I talk to my best friend that way? No, never. Would I tell her she's behind or too old or too much or not enough? Of course not. And yet we say those things to ourselves over and over. And research in psychology shows that chronic self-criticism activates stress responses in the body. So if we're talking about heart health, maybe part of strengthening your heart is softening your inner voice. If we can learn to speak to ourselves with a little more kindness, what might that change? Not just emotionally, but physically. Okay, so that question is at the heart of Dr. Ellen Langer's work on the mind-body connection. Dr. Ellen Langer, she's a Harvard psychologist who has spent decades researching how our thoughts and interpretations influence physical outcomes for us. And she challenges the idea that mind and body are separate systems. She's not the only one doing this work. This is starting to become a known thing, this mind-body connection. Go look it up if you don't know anything about this. It's stunning. And she talks a lot about mindfulness, and her mindfulness, if you're like, I'm not meditating, don't tell me to meditate, I can't do that. She's not really talking about meditating. She's talking about actively noticing awareness. And sometimes that does mean slowing down, that's the taking the walk without your phone thing. It's about getting off autopilot is really what it is. Because as our roles shift here in midlife, it is easy to go into autopilot or just stay in autopilot and not know why what we used to do doesn't fit anymore. Noticing, staying curious, can shift how our body responds to stress. Every time I find myself, okay, let's say I'm anxious, I'm having an anxious moment. They happen a lot. And if I can just stop for a minute and go, oh, look what I'm doing. I'm having some anxiety right now. Just noticing that. And then getting curious. Okay, why am I anxious? Get curious. Curiosity can lead you down a whole thing. And then suddenly you're less reactive and you're more about noticing and evaluating. So it's not about toxic positivity. If you can catch yourself in criticism of yourself or catastrophic daydreaming, which is what anxiety and worry is. It's thinking about the future and thinking something's going to go wrong. If you can pause and try again. Let's talk about the criticism, the self-criticism part. If you could just tell yourself, hey, you're doing your best. Yeah, oh, I'm so sorry. Talk to your little sad person in there and say, I know this is hard. Or, hey, you're allowed to take up space here. Because if we can't sit compassionately with ourselves, being in a room full of people is not going to fix the loneliness. And from that place of self-connection, if you can find that and start to be kinder to yourself and more connected to yourself, it becomes easier then to reach outward. And yeah, connection becomes less desperate. Play becomes less performative. Community becomes more nourishing. Ooh, here's another bit of research that I think ties into this. There's Yale researcher Dr. Becca Levy, and her research found that people who hold more positive beliefs about aging live an average of 7.5 years longer than those who hold more negative beliefs. 7.5 years. True story. Studies have been done and replicated. And she also found that negative age stereotypes can increase cardiovascular stress. Crazy. Mind-body connection. There it is again. In other words, what we believe about this stage of life, it doesn't just shape our mindset. It can shape our physiology. It can affect our health. Here's a great example. So I have the age agitators community, and I meet up with these women regularly. And every time I have conversations with my community, I leave those conversations feeling lighter than when I went in and more energized. And frankly, sometimes I'm like, oof, okay, do I have it in me to do this today? And every single time I do it, I end up richer. I'm richer than I was when I entered that conversation. Also, when I produce this podcast and I reach out to a new person to be a guest on the podcast and I meet them and I get to know them, I feel expanded. And suddenly there's living proof in front of me that it's never too late to do something new, because those are the people I tend to talk to, right? Also, when I go roller skating or paddleboarding, which takes some effort, the minute I start the activity, I feel light and free. When I try something new or something I'm not particularly good at, like shuffle dancing, when I laugh with someone, my heart feels different. I feel lighter. Time goes faster. Research shows that play reduces stress hormones and supports bonding, and even correlates with healthier cardiovascular health. Did that sentence make sense? Yeah. Anyway, play is healthy for you. Let's just break it down, right? It creates connection without pressure. Even if you're playing by yourself, you're connecting to yourself. And then you've got juice to go out and connect with other people. Even if you're an introvert. I am an introvert, believe it or not. Yeah, play gives us a sideways door back into belonging. So, maybe during National Heart Month, yeah, eat the kale, do the cardio, lift those weights, do all the things, but also call the friend, grab some coffee with somebody, join the class, start a group, say yes to the awkward invitation. Make room on your calendar for playtime, whatever that is for you. Because strengthening your heart might not just be about beats per minute and blood pressure and all those things. It might be about who it beats beside. Who are you with? Who are you spending time with? And if you're thinking, okay, Yvonne, but how do I don't even know what I like to do to play anymore. All right. So I'm just going to say that's why I invented this thing called the Play Shop. That's why it exists. It's where we practice awkwardly and imperfectly and joyfully, and you can hop on the wait list any old time. at latebloomerliving.com/play. No kale required. And come on in and join that. So those are my thoughts on National Heart Month. I'm wearing my heart sweater too today. I love this sweater. It makes me happy. And it's warm. I'll be back next week. Come on back. And in the meantime, bloom like you mean it, all right?